Hey guys, welcome back to Making Mindfulness Fun. Continuing on our Enneagram series, we are now at the head triad, which is also the fear triad, and we're talking about Enneagram 5 stick. The Enneagram 5 is called the investigator. And so today we're going to be sharing mindfulness tips for how the investigator can get out of their head and into life and into their heart and break free of their own self-limiting thought patterns. So what is the type 5? Let's start there. The type 5, like Gabby said, is called the investigator. And your core desire, if you're a type 5, is that you like to process and have knowledge so you feel capable. That is your core desire. So these people, if you know a type 5 or if you are one, you love research, you love analytics, you love looking at all the statistics on things, and you will definitely not pull triggers until you have the information on things. And we're gonna get into later the type 5 in our lives, but it's really important that as a type 5, what you struggle with, it's amazing that you love information, but you also struggle because you want information so much, you tend to not pull triggers. You tend to stay in your heads, you tend to get the research, pull it all in, and then you never pull the trigger and take the action and do what you said you're going to do because you don't know if you're quite prepared or capable. And so we want to give you a few tips on how you can practice mindfulness and how you can get out of your head and into reality.
So we know quite a few type 5s in our family or extended family, and type 5s are really interesting for me because in stress I become a type 5 where I try to gather so much information, but my natural state is not like that. My natural state is very empowered, like make bold, brave steps. You know, if something doesn't feel off, I usually do something. We go for a road trip, or we, make a change in where we live, or, we change campsites, whatever. I'm a doer. And so the big difference is, as much as I like to research information, type 5s, you're going to find that information and you're talking about it all the time. And while I love that because I like to debate and have these intellectual conversations with the type 5s in my life, they tend to get to a point where it's like, okay, well, this is common sense, take the next step. And they need somebody in their life that is going to help them take that next step, or at the very least, maybe with this video and you're a type 5, you recognize that, like, oh yeah, I love gathering data, but question, am I taking that next step towards whatever aligns with my highest self, my bigger purpose, something that's going to make me thrive and be happy?
Now, the other thing to note is that type 5s often think that they're type 4s. Don't you agree?
Yes.
So when you're reflecting right now, maybe you're watching this video for yourself or for someone you might know, you have to ask yourself whether you are a type 4, and the way you can identify that is because a lot of times if you're a type 5 with a wing 4, our behaviors are more like our wings. So even though the type 4 wing of a 5 can be very emotionally ruminating, they often get stuck in their negative emotions, which only accelerates or furthers their being trapped in their head, right? Type 5s are trapped in their head, and so when they have a 4 wing, they can become even more trapped in their heads. So you have to ask yourself, am I coming from a place of I want to belong or I want to be capable? And then once you identify that, it will help you going forward. But then the other thing for type 5s is that you do have to, because you're stuck in your head, you're gonna have to start with just giving yourself small attainable goals.
Yes, definitely. Quick story about type 5s. Our brother is a type 5, but we also know there's so many type 5s in our lives, but I personally want to tell this one story because these type 5s are also similar and it just shows them well. I had this one student who I was coaching, and I'm not going to throw names out there just for the sake of privacy, but he was pretty young. He was about 8 years old, I believe, and I was doing a coaching call with him, and for the entirety of the call, I was just asking him, what do you want to do? What makes you happy today? And he's a very blah kid. He was very serious and just like, well, one day when I'm 30 years old, I want to build robots, and I'm going to do this, and I know exactly all the research on how exactly I'm going to build the programming, and I have all the information. This was an hour, for at least 25 out of 30 minutes, he talked about all the exact details of how he was going to build this robot when he was 30 years old, and he's 10 years old. And I was just asking him, like, okay, that's great, but what do you want to do now? And he's like, I don't know.
I don't know. So as a type 5, you get caught up in like, one day I'm going to do this, one day I'm going to do this. And
so type 5, like planners and goal setting would be helpful. Like I said, my empowerment course would be ideal for you, because in there I tell you, like, let's set this goal. Let's check like what's happening when we don't take that step towards that next goal. Good chance that there's some self-limiting belief that's getting in your way. Fear of, Gabby mentioned you're part of the head triad, and that's fear driven. And so you really, especially if you're a 5-wing 6, you are really worried about making the wrong decision. And so giving yourself permission to experiment is huge. Also, as a 5 type 6, there's a good chance you were struggling with root chakra issues. And so doing things that are going to journal or heal the root chakra, and keep in mind that's safety and security. So even something as subtle as like journaling, like there's no amount of money in your bank, there's no amount of guarantees that would ever maybe make you feel like it's safe enough. And so maybe you're like, okay, well, when I have this, I'm gonna at least make this move.
Yeah, I mean, everything we want in life, we have to first create it within to have it in our external reality, which we gotta do more videos on that. But yeah, so one, you make small attainable goals, and you create the framework for what you're trying to accomplish, and the empowerment framework can be really helpful. 2 is you should heal your root chakra to enter a place of safety from the inside and not being so anxious. And 3rd, I would say is this doesn't apply to necessarily every type 5, because it's still possible to have a sense of extrovertedness as a type 5, but I think like 90% of type 5s are introverts.
Here and not out here. So.
Yes, so type 5s do need to make an effort to get out of their box and go socialize. And it's not to say that you need to be a social butterfly to be happy in life, but we need to have that sense of engagement with people in the world, because we need to exchange energy through the presence of other people.
When I catch the type 5s, they have this impression in their head about what the world is. But if they're not out in the world enough, sometimes it's a stereotype we're building. We're like creating this reality internally. And that's a good way to tell too, if you're a 4 with a wing 5 or a 5 wing 4, like Abby said, is that I do think 4s tend to put themselves out in the world more often, where 5s tend to stay more reserved. And so if you're a type 5, absolutely get out there. And one of the easiest ways to get out there is through movement, exercise, do a yoga class, go for a run with somebody.
Oh, that's another one. Dynamic movement is good for type 5.
Because you're up here, you got to connect to your body and take care of it.
Move sideways, not just linear. Okay.
All right, I think that wrapped up 5s, give you some help. Won't be our last
Drop
type
a comment
5.
if you're a type 5 and share this with the type 5 if this helped.